have a seat.
Thank you.
And you're integrating Indigenous knowledge into climate action. And importantly, you're ensuring that local voices are absolutely front and center of decision making. So I would like to start by asking you to briefly share your perspective on the critical role of Indigenous knowledge and leadership in shaping climate and clean energy solutions. I know it's a big question, but I have to ask.
No, thank you very much, Benita. And hi, everyone. Thank you for staying, because I know it's the end of the day and you already listened from many people who spoke about energy. But I'm happy also we have the governor back here. So when we talk about Indigenous peoples and energy, it seems like, okay, maybe we do not have a role to play. But when you wanted to talk about clean energy, just transitions, you need minerals. And those minerals are on Indigenous people's land. Those minerals are on high spot biodiversity. So this is the connection between Indigenous communities and all what we're talking about, the transition of energy. But going far, when we need minerals, when we take the minerals, we are taking it from the soil. So how we can restore those ecosystems, those vital ecosystems, to allow us to survive. And this is where the Indigenous people's knowledge are so crucial, and where we are working on it to restore those ecosystems. For example, when you have a forest, people can see the trees. So there are only a bunch of the trees. But when you are an Indigenous, you do not only see the leaves and the trees. You see what is in the trees. You have the little insects who are growing up there. You have the birds who can sit there. You have the animals who are navigating. You have the different species who can be food, who can be medicine, who can be water, who can help to purify water, who can help to fertile land. So this is how we are using our knowledge and helping those minerals also to be sitting on the ground to help our life to be not only transition, but to be just and equitable transition for all.
So that really speaks to, I know you often talk about this idea that every culture has its own science. And I'd love you to give us some examples of a project where traditional knowledge has directly shaped sustainable outcomes.
Absolutely. So when we talk about Indigenous knowledge, most of the time people say, like, well, it's so beautiful you are talking about it. But it's not the idea of being romanticism or beautiful on the knowledge. It is practical. So in my community, I'm coming from a nomadic pastoralist that living across 6 countries in Africa. So then when we move, we do not have like a highway that you can get in speed, or you have another road who is national. So we are navigating across the different ecosystem. And those knowledge allow us to move from one ecosystem to another one, when we are looking for the water, when we are looking for the pastures. And it allows us to stay 2 days in one place, 3 days in another one. And when I say nomadic, don't take me wrong. We are moving around all this area, 3 days, 2 days, or 1 week maximum. So the idea is not to move just because we love working. The idea is how we are using our knowledge to keep this ecosystem to be sustained, to leave our cow dung, to do not be emitters, but to be a feed for the soil, and to help also the soil to get regenerated, to help the ecosystem to be in balance. So those knowledge are so practical. They are living time for the thousands of years that help to sustain all our life and livelihood.
Are you able to share with us a recent example, a story of where that Indigenous knowledge really has shaped a very different outcome, a sustainable outcome, a really specific
So one of the
project?
specific I can say, maybe the participatory mapping. So when we use a science knowledge, so we use a satellite image actually. I did use the last image that are date of 3 days or 1 week. And then I go to the communities. When we sit down and we work on those knowledge, it's help us to design a national adaptation plan. It's help us to get women land right. Just before I come, I was in the community where they get the land right, and then we set up a project on water where they can do an agriculture out of the season. Because as you know, most of our communities, they only live when the rain comes, they have the crops, and they dry them up for the next 9 months. So they do have a land which is fertile. Then we set up a water there. And the water that we set up is not the one you can get by the fuel. It's the water that you can get from the solar panel. Okay. So they can just branch from this technology, and then with their own knowledge, then they draw the water and they do agroecology. And when I say agroecology, we replanted with them more than 11,000 indigenous sacred trees. And sacred trees is not like the normal one. It's the trees when you plant them, they will be the only one who can sustain the rest of the ecosystem, who can bring the rest of the ecosystem. So you don't need to plant all the trees on one. You need to plant only those sacred trees. And this is helping them to generate money, to get their kids to school, to have food, but also it's good for the planet.
So then that must also be having an impact on improving resilience, on equity, and also local buy-in, because then you've got a vested interest in a good way.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what does a truly just and inclusive energy transition look like in practice? I'd love to sort of, if you can paint a picture and as many visuals as you're able to give us so that we can all really imagine what that looks like on the ground. How do we ensure that those systems, technologies, and investments that benefit those communities directly and don't replicate these extractive patterns that we've seen?
I think this is my favorite question, actually. So when you have the pictures of the world on all the access to the energy, and you hear that from the previous panel too, then they tell you, like in Africa, how many millions of people do not have access to the electricity. Firstly, for the community, access to energy is not only light as electricity. Access to the energy is beyond that. When you look at the global north, and then they talk about the energy, they use energy for industrialization. They use energy to be overdeveloped, I can say, because it is not only using energy for food, for land, for water. They are using energy even like, let's have the clean car, where people do not have drinking water. Yeah. So firstly, these pictures of injustice around energy need to be understood. Where we are getting the mineral, they are all in developing countries. They are all in developing countries. They are in our land. And what is happening? Those companies, as they use all the dirty energy from the fossil fuel to all the coal mine, they develop their industry. They go to our country. They extract the mineral again. They take it back home to turn it through all the renewable. And they go back to us selling it, and they say, yes, it's cheaper. Yes, it's cheaper. But the mineral come from where? It's come from our land. So this way of extraction need to end. The way of legacy have to be taken back to the communities. So what we are asking now, all those companies, they must go home, not extracting the roots, minerals, and going with. And when we wanted to restore the land, they take it back. We cannot do any restoration with it. So they must set up the industries at home. That can help to create jobs for these peoples. That can help to sustain the electricity. That can sustain also the industry in our own home, to do the agriculture, to do the footing, to do all. And I just come from DRC a couple of weeks ago. In every 2 hours, there is electricity cut. And you see the paradox. The mineral coming from this land, not only for electricity for developed countries, but also for all the technology they have. But what is happening? They do not even have light 24/7. They do not have road 24/7. So this injustice must end. And that is where the communities also can get their roles. So we need access and benefit sharing. If there is anything, we deserve it. We are not begging for it. It's not a charity. It's a right. So energy transition must be a right-based approach. It must be a justice. It must be a community accessibility. And this is how we can turn the world. Let me end with that. I thought it's my favorite question, right? So the world is going through the war now. What is happening? Go out to any gas station in France. You can see €2 and beyond. And just 2 weeks ago, it was €1.50. And now it's become a political discussion around all the world. It's becoming a war. Is the time to just learn a lesson? It is about people. It is not about the politicians. So if the €2 coming from your pocket, you cannot buy what you plan to buy with it. So we need to turn not only for these developed countries who are warring on these politics, but in these communities where the energy is there, the critical mineral is there, and getting the access and benefit sharing back home. And then the community can have the equitable way of living and the justice way of living, to do not repeat what the oil did for us.
So in practice, what needs to happen for this to change? How do we invert that? We know that the extraction shouldn't be happening. It is happening. What needs to happen on the ground? Who do we need to collaborate? Who are the key players that actually need to change the way they're operating, to collaborate differently? What needs to change? And how do we do it, most importantly?
So I did a report on that actually last year. And just transition and critical minerals, if there are students that are interested on it to look at. So various level of actors that can play the role. Firstly, government. They must set up a right legislation to do not repeat what we did with the discovery of the oil. There is no limit. Here we are, climate change, we talk about it. So they need to set up a right legislation. The extraction must be guided by a proper principles, not over extractions. How we can give back to the planet, how we can get the right to the communities to get access. Secondly, you have energy initiatives, but you have also energy companies. So those peoples, they must include the basic principles, human right respect. They cannot grab the land because they get a deal with the government. They cannot just go in the land and push the communities out because government tell them, okay, go, I can get benefit and you can get benefit. So human right must be a basic right. They must have a free, prior, and informed consent to talk with the communities. They must ensure an access and benefit sharing with the communities. When the communities say no, they have to stop no. You know what's happening with the indigenous peoples in voluntary isolation? Because they are in voluntary isolation on first contact. They have all the mineral there. And then the companies say, maybe they can go there and extract. We say no. They must establish no-go zone. The reason is not to say just don't go there. The reason is it's a high spot biodiversity. That is the one who maintaining the clean air, who is maintaining the clean water, who can keep the balance of our nature. If we go there for the mineral today, we will be creating again the consequences of the oil. And then finally, the community, the peoples. People are voting for the right peoples. We have responsibility. So we cannot allow that they repeat what's happening to us, and that can happen to the next generation that is coming. So we must vote for the right people. Our voices matter because the drop of the paper that you are putting, this matter. If we are in real democracy, they say, not like going and sucking anything and saying we are in democracy. So the real democracy, voice of the peoples matter. We must play our role to the right peoples. Don't think about 5 years. Think about 5 generations, 7 generations that is coming. And vote for the right peoples for the just transition.
So it's pretty clear what needs to happen. But I guess I'm interested for all of us that are here today, what is one action to leave us with, Hindou, that people can do or support to ensure that just and clean energy future across the global south? Something that we can all do and we can support.
So if you wanted to do it right for the global south, we heard it also from the previous panel. And the climate change, and it's not magic. Phase out fossil fuel is easy. So of course, phasing out fossil fuel, it's government who can take the responsibility, but we have to pressure them. So if you have an electricity back home in Europe, and I saw that how it's happened, just like the simple things you have to shift to where you wanted to invest your money, because it's an investment. So you can just choose this one who is not polluting. And you are not doing that because you love African, because you love yourself. Because when you do save all the climate, you are not saving it for my community who do not have access to the water. So if you do that, the trees that we are planting is going to draw the right air that you are breathing. So that's the thing. Save yourself and you can save the other communities. And everyone have action to play. We can really do it, and I said earlier, vote for the right person. Choose your money who's going where, investing in a right way. And if you have more money, investing in the global south. Give it to the communities. Give it to the right place where people can get it. It's not a charity, as I said also. It is an investment. Just to think about how all these buildings are built up. It's come from all the resources that we own. And just to go to all developed countries and you can see, oh, how petty they are. So we don't want to have a pity. We want to have an equity, a justice, a partnership. And that can end up in the decision that we are taking. So let's be equal as humanity. And of course, we can have a better life all together.
I love that, and that's a fantastic note to end on. Hindou, thank you so much. This has been absolutely phenomenal. I just want to say in summary today, we've seen a vision for a just, inclusive and pioneering clean energy future and tangible pathways for local leadership, indigenous knowledge and systemic collaboration to turn that vision into reality. From Glory Aguebu, we heard about workforce deployment and local leadership, they're essential. From the panel, Governor Rada, William Brent, and Bruce Douglas, we heard about policy, finance, and partnerships, how they can turn systemic barriers into levers for action, and that solutions are ready to change and scale now. And from Hindou, we've heard about a justice-led, indigenous-informed approach that ensures the transition is inclusive and transformative. We've also been given some really practical ways to act, to think and act locally and scale globally, to invest in people, entrepreneurs, and leaders in the global south, and to create replicable models, to create and center justice and inclusion, to ensure that solutions benefit communities directly, and respect indigenous knowledge, and to leave no one behind. And finally, to collaborate across sectors, governments, business, civil society, and local communities must work together. Because what we need to do is align finance, policy, and technology to drive real impact. So it's clear to me that the clean energy future of the global south isn't just coming, it's here. Communities are leading, solutions are scaling, and change is already happening on the ground. Our role is to remove barriers, support local leadership, and amplify what works. I'm Benita Matofska, speaker and future maker, and it's been my absolute pleasure to moderate this session. Thank you all for joining us. Now let's make the clean energy future that we want to see happen together. Thank you so much.